When most people think of Bitcoin, they think of the complete opposite of hard money. They would probably think hard money is gold, or honestly, Max, they'd probably think hard money is US $100 bills. When in fact, you would probably tell them that is slowly depreciating to nothing, especially as more money is printed. But how would you convince, I would say my grandma, but my grandma's passed away, my aunt in Denver, Colorado, that the Bitcoin is something that could really be a game changer for her life if she invested in it?
Right. Well, there's three forms of money really. There's fiat money, like the $100 bill. There's gold, and then there's Bitcoin. So the fiat money, I think we can easily appreciate, is just paper. There's nothing that backs it. According to the New York Times, Paul Krugman, who's the economist over there, when asked this question about what backs the US dollar, he says, well, men with guns. Okay, so if there wasn't the US Army, if there was no Pentagon forcing people to take the dollar into countries around the world, like Iraq, Iran, Venezuela, or whatever, it would have no value. In other words, the US foreign policy is accept our dollars or we send in the Marines, right? It's just, there's no, and we know now, printing trillions and trillions and trillions of them, and they can print $6 trillion in 3 weeks. Then obviously that doesn't have any value. It's interesting that the amount of taxes collected in America last year in total were roughly $3.5 trillion. And the Fed printed over $6 trillion in a day, right? So the question becomes, why do we even pay taxes? If you can just print trillions like that, why are you bothering me for taxes? What's the point?
Wow.
The point is that they don't need people's taxes. They don't need people to work when they can just print for themselves as they do. So I think the case against fiat is pretty clear and understandable. The case for gold, gold it's been around for thousands of years. And why did gold become the store of value and the medium of exchange that it is over the 1,000 years? Because it has great store of value in that if I get paid gold today, that gold I can use it to buy something tomorrow or next year or 5 years from now. So it maintains its purchasing power, it maintains its value. The cost of a suit 300 years ago might be an ounce of gold, and the cost of a suit today would be roughly an ounce of gold, right? A very nice suit at $1,800. But nevertheless, it's maintained that purchasing power. So it has this long storied history to it. Plus, it also has properties that were talked about by Aristotle. It's scarce, it's portable, it's divisible, and it's desirable. This is what Aristotle spoke about 2,700 years ago. He talked about gold as being the perfect money. So now let's talk about Bitcoin. First of all, does it fit those Aristotelian criteria? Is it scarce? Yes. Is it portable? Very, very portable, much more portable than gold. Is it divisible? Extremely divisible, much more than gold. Is it fungible? That's another property of gold that we just talked about at that time. It is fungible. That's one area where it's not yet as equal to gold. And it's used by people as a store of value, primarily at this moment because of its scarcity. And going forward, as you see the fiat money kind of disappear and people looking for alternatives, they of course they're going to go to gold, but as gold source, it becomes harder and harder to source gold, and that's becoming the case, is that the premiums on gold start to move up and gold becomes harder to source. What's the next closest thing to gold that you can put your hands on that will offer store value, medium exchange properties? And this brings you to Bitcoin. Now, from there, you kind of dig down into the next layer of the technology, and you ask yourself, what gives it this hard money aspect? Why is it considered hard money? So you have to look at it as the expression of this enormous global network of computers that are working simultaneously via the protocol to maintain the network and maintain Bitcoin's monetary policy. It has a very strict monetary policy of certain amount of coins being generated every 10 minutes. That's part of a disinflationary monetary policy that extends from 2009 to the year 2140 and slowly seeps into the ecosystem, the financial ecosystem, these Bitcoins every 10 minutes. And as this occurs over time, the network, because the desirability to obtain those coins goes up as the fiat money world collapses, the network gets stronger. The amount of computer power or hash rate continues to go up every year, every quarter, to maintain the solidity and the security of that network. Then you dig into the technology a little bit more and you say, well, how does the network maintain itself against these outside risks? And you find different layers to the stack of the Bitcoin protocol that are ingeniously engineered in ways that protect this hard money. One ingenious aspect would be the difficulty adjustment, which happens every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, the protocol searches the network of computers to find out what is the capacity out there to continue the network going forward. And if it's become saturated with a lot of computational abilities, then it raises that difficulty adjustment. If there's a drop-off in computer power, it lowers what's called the difficulty adjustment, and it finds the sweet spot within that network to keep encouraging those folks who are, quote, mining on the network to keep at it, spend money, exert energy. And there's a lot of energy that goes into creating these coins. They're limited supply. They are a store of value that is comparable to gold in that it's an extraordinarily rare commodity. Bitcoin is actually rarer. It's probably the rarest commodity out there. And now that they've had this halving event where the coin emission every 10 minutes is cut in half, the so-called stock to flow ratio has become even better than gold. So the amount of gold that's pulled out of the ground versus the amount of gold above ground is roughly 3% or so. Now with this halving that's gone on in the Bitcoin protocol, that flow of new coins being created to the stock of gold actually out there in existence has become more favorable than gold. So it's become harder than gold on that stock to flow model. And at the bottom line is this, Brian: money is whatever people say it is. If people use gold as money, it's money. If people use Bitcoin as money, it's money. And it's up to the community really has the final say. Anything can be money. Over many, many years, many attempts have been made to establish money, whether it's cowrie shells or beads or stones, and many things have been money. But gold survived all of different attempts to make all these different types of money, and it's still used as money. Bitcoin is now being used by 50 to 70 million people, depending on how you calculate, as money. And that number is going up a great deal, going up sharply. And when you see what's happening in the banking system, in the central bank system, people are flocking to hard money. And they of course, gold is on their list as a place to go. But increasingly more people are realizing that